So life is okay. It's better than okay. Fuck's sakes, it's much better than okay. Hi, it's everyone's favorite mistress of trans, Rebecca. Um, Thanks for tuning in, faithful audience of human beings. Um, Tonight, I'm probably going to bitch about my sister in detail. So far, has not got a happy ending. I'm not sure exactly where that might go. But I thought I might get a few news items that are a little bit more positive out of the way before I kind of lay into airing my dirty laundry. So the first one is just a little story my wife told me or something my wife just told me yesterday. We were all going out for a walk, heading to run some errands. And God, looking at my voice, come on, higher up, sorry. So I was taking the lead with my daughter, my little 6-year-old daughter, and we were up there wearing our little sundresses, I guess. And she was reminded of when she was pregnant with our son and how she would go through a stressful blood test. And one of the visions she had in her mind was envisioning me and my son one day being old enough, walking hand in hand and wearing matching outfits. And she realized that vision was a thing of the past. And but here I was with my daughter in a similar situation, just the gender script was flipped, I guess. But it was nice that she could share that with me and she could still find it sweet and not like some lost thing that she now had to give up or something like that. So small detail. I loved the inversion of all of it. So thank you to my wife, who does not listen to these videos because I cannot bring myself to share them. So that was kind of sweet. And other than that, I've had a couple of face-to-face Zoom calls with some friends finally, attempting my voice. Unclear where I succeeded or not because I didn't really record at least the first one, but I'm so grateful for my friends' enduring patience and friendship during this. So thank you, Marie, and thank you for tonight, Nadia. These were good. So other than that, if something positive happens during my rant that I can think of, maybe I will interrupt my screed with my sister. But a little bit of background. So I think I started to come out to her in my transition possibly around this time last year. So last June sometime when I knew that I was headed down this path. And so we've raised our lives together as kids. We were sort of pitted against each other in a dysfunctional family. We didn't really get along. We fought. We were not very nice to each other. Somewhere in our mid-teens, we became civil to each other. But anyway, my sister's queer. She's a lesbian. She was a fierce tomboy, and some people think maybe she was trans in denial. But whatever the reason, it could just be that she's family. She's never been on board and has tried to talk me out of my transition every step of the way. She appealed to some sense of logic and it goes against nature. She said my life would be way harder. When she wanted to be a boy, her life was so hard. When she finally passed as a straight woman, she said her life became easier. Arguably, I understand that, but it doesn't translate as to why I shouldn't transition. I can agree that life could be more challenging, but still know that this is right for me. Anyways, I, of course, periodically take my, come on, higher than, okay, good. So she appealed to the life will be harder, then it's against nature. And then, despite that we're not being very close, she went I'm mourning the loss of my brother. And I'm like, we were never close. What the hell are you mourning? We had an unhappy childhood. We did not get along. What precious memory is there for us to share? So anyways, it didn't matter. She could just jump from argument point to argument point. She would forget the point she made before. So even if I could contradict her, it didn't really matter. And so I just kind of let that slide. But only a few weeks ago at my daughter's birthday, we had a little FaceTime chat. I was late coming to the scene, so they'd started without me. And as I came down, I could hear my sister go, "Oh God." And I knew she'd seen me, and I settle into the frame. And the very first thing that my lovely sister does when I settle into the frame is she puts her hand up in front of the screen, and so she can't really look at me. And this is what I endured for the first few seconds. It didn't really get any better. Her hand went down, and then she stared at me silently and eventually turned her screen away so we weren't looking at each other. It's in front of my kids. And I just kind of raised my hand. I said, "She's disgusted." And she said, "Disgusted's too harsh a word." And then insisted that, no, we never got along. So she's only just being really rough on me because that's how we are. And I'm like, "But you missed your old sibling apparently, but now because it suits you, we never got along." Anyways, I gave up on that. Let that just sank in my disappointment. And then a few days ago, my sister makes a bizarre BLM post on her Facebook and about cancel culture and how she's hinting that if people were found out from past behaviors, we'd be shamed in present day standards. And I don't know what, but she's also going to try to be a better person. And after how she's been treating me for the past 8 months and denying me everything and then humiliating me in front of my family, I write on her post, I say, I can think, after this, referring to her post, you could, treat your transgender big sister with love and respect instead of ignoring her entirely. And I knew it would lead to conflict, so she calls me 7 minutes later. Opens with a, "How dare you?" All I got to say was, "Hello?" And she's like, "How dare you?" She proceeds to dead name me with relish. Like, you could just hear it. And then she's like, "Or Rebecca." You could hear the air quotes. And she accuses me of trying to ruin her life. So she's only really seeing me trying to cancel her, which apparently she's insanely paranoid about. And that she never gave a shit about my transition. I was just always an asshole who belittled her entire life. So she doubled down on how we got along as kids. And that was her new platform to not grant me a shred of dignity for transition. And then ended the phone call with, "We're done." And then that was it. I got to say hello, and that was all. And I believed her. The next day, I surprised myself with tears. I know hormones make emotions come a lot more quickly and simply. But I surprised myself and probably cried about 5 or 6 times. At one point, my son and daughter were fighting, and I said, "Your auntie is probably not in our life anymore. Could you please get along?" And then I broke down in front of my kids. And that ploy worked, though. My kids stopped fighting and everybody hugged. But I was dreadfully serious about what's going on with my sister. And so I mourned her for a day, felt lighter by the end of that day. And then by the next day, she's texting me half apologies. The next day, she texts me something a little more generic, but a little more like an apology. So I suddenly have to weigh my options if I'm going to give her the silent treatment or, make reparations or something. But I gave her 2 days of silent treatment. And then I laid into her. And then I burped. Okay. So I gave her 2 days of silent treatment, and then I laid into her and really said, "Do you want me in your life or not? I know you can't really accept it, but you got to do better than throwing me under the bus at any occasion." So, and you may not be 100% transphobic, but you got some transphobia. And if all you see is just me trying to cancel you, then I think you're right. I think we're done. So, and that's how I ended it. It's been days, so she hasn't replied. I am still blocked on Facebook and so on. So she may not want to own up to all the humiliation that she put me through. with my family and the way she treated me in front of my own kids and stuff. That may be too much for her to deal. I don't know. But this was me leaving the door open. If she can be a little bit humble, I'd love to apologize for how I was as a kid growing up with her. I need to feel like I'm improving my own life and not leaving behind, a broken or bitter person that like feels they know the real me or something. That, I'm sorry, but it's over 30 years. I can't be that same person. I've been open to a real relationship with my sister for decades, but she can't even bring herself to hug me when we see her every few years or something. So, yeah. So, kind of lame. She's my only blood sibling relative. My parents are passed. I'm not close to my cousins that I even know of. So she was it. So, of course, the open question is, why do I need my sister on board if she can't be? Why is it important that I convert her? And I don't know. It's a mystery why she needs to be on board, because we both survived a dysfunctional childhood or something. She's a weirdo. I'm a weirdo, but she's also a weirdo. But she's charming. What are you going to do? So, anyways, that's me ending on a not great note. But otherwise, life is all right. Still not much work has materialized, but little nibbles are coming. I've come out to another client that's taken it in stride. Just hasn't translated into real work just yet. Okay, come on, Hertz. Up you go. So anyways, yeah. I guess that's about it. I have not had dinner yet, and it is 10 o'clock. So, thank you again for watching. Anybody watching this, if you want to have a Zoom conversation with me attempting my voice and catching up, I'm thinking of you, Margaret, if you're watching, or anybody else. I'm always down for that. So, okay. Alrighty. So life is okay. It's better than okay. Fuck's sakes, it's much better than okay. Just sucks about my sister. Okay, great. I hope you're okay as well. Okay. I said okay a freaking lot. Okay. Bye. That's it.